It'd be safe to say that they constituted a fair amount of the glue that held this community together. They had some adventures here and there. We're pretty good at making babies.
Yeah, they were real good at that.
But I'd like to present you someone whose family, I think, too, Pickett family, is every bit a composite of that glue that holds this community together. A celebrated family, and I think Eulalie is probably just about as much in the finest representation of a daughter of the Deep South as her name implies. And with that, I turn the program over to her to talk about the program. Thank you.
Now, don't get panicked because I brought all this stuff up here. Because I haven't got a speech written out. I just have notes of here and there. And you're right, we have been around for a while. The names of the persons, let's see, this says, names of all persons to whom allotments of land were made by the Court of President, don't ask me who that is, and assistants in Georgia between the 21st of October, 1741, and the 4th of October, 1745. And this is in the colonial documents. So we've been in Georgia for a good while, and Joseph Phillips, who was the father of Buck, that one that had the 11 begettings, you know, who beget a whole bunch of others, had 500 acres, and then David Graham, who, well, we'll get into how they were in the family also, but they had 1,000 acres in Cave Springs. So there was a lot of land, and we'll get into some of the other. I guess that's why I've always loved the land around here. I've always thought it was special. They owned plantations in Fish Creek, and also John Phillips Wilson did. I told you we were getting real close around here. And they also had Hightower Falls, I mean, what is now Hightower Falls. They owned that at one point. And it was a structure that was 20 by 24, and they ground wheat, flour, corn, and they did it in half bushels. I have a lot of things. You know, God says that He shows His love to the 1000th generation of those who love Him and keep His commandments. Well, I'll tell you what, I come from some strict Methodists, and they kept His commandments, and they must have been very, very, very good people. The bad part of us came from the Wilsons, and I'll get into that. I have a letter here that was written in 1924, and it was to my cousin Alice, and it's about Macajah Brooks, whom we're also kin to, and he's our only Revolutionary soldier. He lived from 1761 to 1863. And it says that his mother was a widow, and she sent him to the mill while he was out waiting for his corn to be ground. Some recruiting officers came by, and they charmed him with the music of the fight and the drum, and the lively tales of a soldier's life. He left his grinding at the mill and marched off with them. He was 14 years old. His mother thought he was dead for 7 years. So apparently he didn't write very well. He may have been illiterate, I don't know. Now, Ann probably does, but I don't. But I know one thing, he needed a good horsewhipping. He wasn't one of the saints in the family, I don't think, anyway. We have a whole bunch of Phillips in this family, and I have to, because apparently we were very limited in our ability to choose names. And so everybody has got 10 Wilsons in the family. I mean Williams in the family. So I have to keep that right there, so I can try to tell you when everybody came around. The one that I'm going to talk about I don't know when he was born, but his name was William Phillips, and we call him Buck. His wife was born in 1790. The family moved from Baldwin County to Henry County, to Paulding County, or what is now Polk County, in 1835. William lived in what is now Morgan Valley and owned the land all around there. The second William Phillips, they had 15 children. So when people ask me, do I know any Phillips, I never knew very many at all. But they certainly were prolific, but most of them were girls. But they lived in Morgan Valley. And then William M. Phillips, 1825 to 1887, lived in what is now Collard Valley. And they built the house that is now owned by Fred Casey. And they had a huge plantation between these two plantations. Also, there was a, what's his name? John Brooks, I think, also owned one out there. I kept this. I don't know if this is something you all know or it's just something that Pauline had in the papers that I found. But Polk County, the new county, is 24 miles long and 20 miles wide, it says. At the suggestion of William James, who was the state legislature of the newly formed county, it was named Polk County, obviously, after the 11th president, James K. Polk. It went through a time of adjustment. The boundary lines had to be settled and records had to be made and new officials were nominated and elected. And soon everything was pretty much settled. Here is a list of the early settlers. If y'all know this, say, does everybody know who all the early settlers were? Okay. There was, alrighty, let's see, highest type, Polk County grew and prospered. Listed among the early settlers were Dr. E.H. Richardson, William Peake, John Brooks, he was out there, remember, in Fish Creek, Asa Pryor, Colonel Stringer, R.C. Gibson, William F. James, W.E. West, G.W. West, James O. Briggs, B.E. Brimelow, Colonel Herbert Fielder, Judge Isaac A. Jones, Marcus H. Bunn, James D. Waddell, Joseph A. Blanche, J. A. Peake, D. A. Whitehead, the Borders, the Everetts, Robert Young, Augustus Young, James Young, Brooks Willingham. It goes. The Witchers, the Himes, the Coxes, William Phillips, Woodson Hubbard. And this William M. Phillips is the one, for those of you who have been in my house, that piano in the drawing room would belong to William M. Phillips. So it's very old, no wonder I can't play. It said for their families, they wanted to have faith in the future and were willing to toil and sacrifice to further the best interests of the people. They can look back on their work and planning with pride. And then I have a lot of other little things in this that are not particularly important, but they have the Morgan Valley, Pryor Station, Young Station, and they were all named for these people. And Collard Valley was named for an Indian, Chief Collard. The word, and then the lower parts, they went into Haralson County and took Carroll County and made Haralson. A lot of our members here in Polk County would join the Phillips Legion and went to war during the War of Northern Aggression. But I'd like to say we all know about the war a good bit. But it was the Ladies' Aid that was organized in 1861 that was particularly interesting. They helped all who needed help. All women would serve their members. They cut out all the flannel shirts, dozens and dozens and dozens. They made the trousers because the tailor in Rome had too many to make. These women sewed by hand the uniforms that our soldiers from Polk County went to the war in. They prepared the meals while they were drilling, and some of them were drilling out near Fish Creek and also in Cedartown. We all know that during Sherman's march to the sea, we had a few people who came through Cedartown and burned most of our downtown, particularly the courthouse, and a lot of the businesses in downtown, and the homes. But some of the records were kept by I wanted to say this because a Mrs. Porter Jones. She took all the records that she could carry up to Dug Down Mountain and hid them in a cabin, and so some of those got saved. I don't know where they are. I have an obituary here which I thought was wonderful. This is for William M. Wait a minute. This is for Buck. No, wait a minute, it's not either. I get them all confused. Let me just read it. It's from Grady, Georgia, and it's the last Saturday was the last day of the week, the last day of the month, the last day of the year, and the last day of in the life of one of Polk County's oldest and best citizens. On Saturday evening, William M. Phillips, flitted out of his home of clay and crossed into the, what is it, Don? Elysian fields in that bright glory land where there was a mansion prepared for him. We shall never see the kind of placid face, obviously I didn't get it from him, placid face of William Phillips again on earth. Yet we hope that when life's fitful dream is over and the perplexities and disappointments of life is past, that our end may be like his. We are willing to cross the Jordan at the same ford where William Phillips crossed. The departure of William Phillips carries sadness to many in the households of Polk County. He was a benefactor of his race. No man in Polk County did more to assist the needy than William Phillips. And then it ends with this: we can never see the beauty of a noble Christian's life until all that is moral of that life is hid beneath a coffin's lid. Can't we learn to praise virtue while the object of praise is still alive? I thought that was wonderful. William Phillips also misbehaved a little bit, though, I have to tell you. He was a lawyer at one time, and he was appointed Solicitor General of the Blue Ridge Circuit, and that's where he married Caroline Frances Wilson. And that's where my trouble started, because he's only my great-great-great-grandfather. And Don's family's from Blue Ridge. And they're William Wilson, who was her daddy. So you get kind of close in there. I mean, you know. In the other things that I thought were of interest, that it was generally known at this time in the 1730s, 40s, and 50s that women who milked cows did not get smallpox. I want you all to know that in case you all ever have that problem. And I want you to also note that in 1837 and in 1860, in the Insanity Lunatic Asylum in Milledgeville, there were no Phillipses. No Normans. Now, I don't know about the other years, but there weren't any of those there then. And I also want you to know that we had the smallest percentage of insanity than any other state. I just find all these things real interesting. These people went to school during the winter and the summer, but they were out for 6 weeks in the spring and 6 weeks in the fall so they could plant and harvest the crops. But on Saturdays, when they didn't have anything to do,